the Arnold Classic. You were for years the face of the brand. You're a highly decorated bodybuilder. How did you come about meeting Victor and choosing someone as the face of the brand, considering that you were that image for a long time? How did you finally get to know Victor, choose him as this your company representative?
Well, when I started the brand, like you said, I was fortunate and able to utilize myself as the face of the brand. As the brand started growing, and I really hadn't been competing. I've been out of the competing circuit for a while. I was kind of waiting to see who I could find to really be the face of the brand. So I kind of held off a little bit because I wanted to make sure I found somebody that I really thought would represent the brand well. And then, quite honestly, I had gone to Steve Bleckman and I had explained to him, do you know of any upcoming guys? Who do you think would be good for our brand? And Steve had actually recommended that, maybe Victor Martinez. And I said, oh, yeah, really? You think, because I had known Victor, obviously being from the general area, and I, watched him, competing as an amateur, and then when he turned pro, and honestly, he was one guy. As a matter of fact, at one time I was at a trade show, and kind of hanging out by the pool, and I see this guy laying out by the pool. And I'm like, man, this guy's genetics are unbelievable. And this was way before Victor even turned pro. So I kind of made mental note, and I said, this kid, really has everything it takes. So, like I said, so I was, trying to find that right person. Steve Bleckman had recommended maybe, what do you think about Victor? And, I was like, wow, that'd be great if you think Victor would be interested. And, I met with Victor, and we hit it off really well. And, it's been great ever since.
Now, I know, in the day and age now where, you hear every day a new athlete has, lost his contract, lost his endorsement deal with a supplement company, and I believe that if you see one athlete one week representing one company and next week he's with somebody else, they kind of lose their credibility. We all know, Victor's stories, great, tragedy, triumph, through his past and everything he's been through. What made you, stick by his side through all this time and stay with him for this long?
Kind of like you said, I mean, originally I had held off because I wanted to make sure I had the right face of the brand. Right from the beginning, I kind of felt that Victor had the potential to, be one of the top in the sport. And I still to this day feel as though he, has what it takes to be Mr. Olympia. When you talk about, ups and downs, with me and Victor, quite honestly, it's more than just him representing the brand. He's part of the MHP family, and he's been with our company for over 6 years now. He's been very dedicated to our brand. Aside from the fact that I still believe, he's one of the best bodybuilders in the world today. Like I say, he's a great representative of the brand. He's been dedicated to the brand. Listen, that's the way it goes. Just because somebody, places out the money, to me, especially in a highly competitive sport like this, and we know what it takes. It's a game of inches, a game of hours. I kind of know what bodybuilders are going through. And just because somebody maybe misses their peak on a few shows, and as we know, I mean, Victor's been through a lot of different obstacles that he's overcome. I mean, most of the obstacles that Victor's been confronted with, the majority of guys would have quit. They would have packed it in by now. And Victor just gets up, dusts himself off, and goes back to battle.
That's true. I mean, I can honestly attest to that. So now, me also being from New Jersey, I mean, I had the opportunity, I've trained and seen Victor training at numerous gyms out here on the East Coast, and he is a great representative of the brand, similar to, some of those other guys you see out there, they're in their Air Jordan outfits instead of seeing them out there representing their company. Victor, every time I see him in the gym, he's decorated in an MHP brand. Has he, being that he's also from the New Jersey area, has he been a big asset as far as helping you with any other, ideas, bouncing stuff back and forth?
With Victor, because of our relationship, I'm very close with Victor, like I said. We talk on a regular basis. Obviously, for his career, we're always looking to help try and, provide him, the best supplements that we can to help him. So a lot of times as we're, in the development phases of products, and when we're doing our trial runs and our trial batches and stuff like that, we bounce ideas off of Victor, and we give him, the product during the testing phases to try get his input. In the Dark Rage formula, for example, he was very integral in making multiple batches. Is it powerful enough? Are you getting a good enough pump? Is it too much of an energy? Is it too powerful? Does it make you feel dizzy? All that kind of stuff. He does a lot of beta testing for us, so yes.
getting it from a world-class, athlete like that, instead of using, your little gym guys, you're getting actually good feedback. And I'm, being that you're local like here, you're not working with a guy who's, out in, California and sending stuff out there. You have a guy who's, literally miles away coming out. So I'm sure that's a big asset. So now, going into this, Arnold, how do you feel? There's a lot of pressure on Victor. What's your outlook on this?
The Mr. Olympia was a very tough experience for Victor and for me. Has nothing to do with the brand for me, how Victor places. Quite honestly, for me, it's really, heartfelt for him because I see how hard he trains, and he was very committed to that show. I mean, I know a lot of people, talk about, Victor really, he slacks on his workouts and this and that. That couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean, Rodney, you know how it is at this level. It's, all these guys are training very hard. It really comes down to just really dialing it in that last week, and especially those last few days.
And hours.
And last few hours, exactly. And that's kind of where we're kind of, Victor on this last show kind of just missed his mark. Probably the most competitive lineup as far as conditioning that I've ever seen in a pro show. I mean, in today's standards of where these guys are, these guys are all in great shape, and the level of separation is this big from one guy to the next. So I'm confident that Victor's actually more determined than I've ever seen him. I mean, one of the things that resonated with me when I spoke to him after the Mr. Olympia was, he basically said on the prejudging stage when he realized that he didn't get the call out and look down at himself, he was already thinking Arnold Classic. He already was he already erased the Mr. Olympia experience from his mind and basically, put that behind him. And he's been, more focused than I've ever seen him before. And that's a big statement because, like I said, he's always been focused. He's always been determined. But now, Victor's a very passive guy, and now he's a little angry. So
that's good. Now, I understand, as going forward now, he's also teamed up with a very good conditioning guy there, in the likes of Oscar Arden out there in Brooklyn, heading out to Brooklyn quite a few times a week. So that's got to say something in regards to his newfound, I don't know, you always said he was push driving like that, but to drive out, I know, being from the East Coast, to drive out to Brooklyn every day, it's a 2-hour ride each way. How do you feel about that combination of teaming up with Oscar?
I think Oscar's going to be very good for Victor. I think one is, Oscar's very dedicated to the athletes he trains. I think Oscar, even though Victor trains hard, Oscar will push him that little bit extra harder. But I think one of the biggest attributes, aside from Oscar being very knowledgeable and dialing his athletes in, which is going to be a big help for Victor. I think the biggest help for Victor is going to be the fact that even though it's quite a drive, better than in the past, he's been working with guys that are halfway across the country. And here, having somebody that's still in the metropolitan New York area, where Oscar's going to be able to look at Victor pretty much on a daily basis, or at least 3-4 times a week, training him. Because also you got to realize too, when you're training an athlete and seeing how his body is responding to training and how his muscles are popping while he's training, that says it all. I mean, how different it is, how different your body looks when you're training. Also, when you're training and you can realize, hey, my athlete's strength levels are going down. Hey, my athlete's energy levels are going down. That's when the guy who's helping you can make the real adjustments and really, give you the right, prognosis as to, where you are in your diet, where you are in your conditioning. Sending somebody a photo from your phone halfway across the country, that's not an accurate way to assess your body.
If you look at the athlete on a daily basis, you're watching him go through his training. If he calls you up on the phone and says, yeah, I had a decent workout, but you don't know how hard they pushed him that day. Maybe they were a little drained. Maybe they do need that adjustment in the carbohydrates. I mean, coming from firsthand of working with Oscar, I know that, he puts, like you said, 1,000% into his athletes. He will be there with him that last, 72 hours, 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge, you can make those little adjustments. I think that'll be a good combination for Victor. So we hope for the best. So I do believe that's going to be, a huge asset, like I said, for him with Oscar and having that hand, nonstop with him 24 hours a day. So now going into this Arnold Classic, I mean, no one in history has ever gone from that low a placing to winning the Arnold Classic. He's going to be back against, likes of guys he's beaten in the past. Branch, is going to bring his conditioning. Dexter Jackson is, the most consistent guy probably ever in the history of bodybuilding. Dennis Wolf, has, coming back a little, tougher now.
Quite honestly, I mean, I really look at the Olympia the same way, Victor did. Pretty much discarded that in my mind. Victor is not an 8th place Mr. Olympia finisher. Listen, he had an off day. The rest of the guys, showed up, spot on. That's the way that show went. As far as the Arnold goes, I firmly believe that, like I said, he's more dedicated than ever. Working with Oscar is a great combination for him. And I've said this all along for as long as Victor. I've been working with Victor, and I think Victor in his best shape will be the best man on that stage. And that's not taking away anything from a lot of the great athletes who are going to be there. But I really think that, Victor at his best will be the best man on that stage.
I happen to agree with you. I can't agree, anymore that Victor, is, one of the most gifted, structurally beautiful bodybuilders out there. He has all the tools similar to like, Flex Wheeler had. So let's hope that, history doesn't repeat itself, and let's see him go out there and do damage this year at the Arnold Classic. So I want to thank you for having us out here today, Gerard, to, showcase your athlete. I know you believe in him. We all believe in Victor, so let's hope for the best.